Okay, so in this video, what we're going to be doing is actually hooking into Meteor's account system, which is obviously one of my favorite parts about Meteor because it makes something that is pretty tedious, something that is not tedious at all. What's really cool is that we get access to some really nice little methods or helper functions that allow us to, well, have a secure login and a whole register system without us really having to do very much. So one way we can do that is by simply adding a package, which is accounts-password. You can come into your Meteor packages file to add this, or you can head to your terminal and do Meteor add, and the package name is going to be accounts-password. Okay. Again, this file is located in your .meteor folder, and it's just right here. It's your packages file. If you add accounts-password and save this, we can watch as our terminal goes and finds the packages. Our Meteor build tool is going to say, hey, this file has changed. Let's go ahead and grab these packages. You can see it added the accounts password, the email, the npm bcrypt package, and again, we're going to get this error here that's Meteor npm install save bcrypt. This is annoying, but what you want to do is just do exactly what this error says. I wish this error didn't exist. But if you just paste in Meteor npm install bcrypt in another tab, it should go away. Okay. So we now have access to the Meteor accounts packages. Okay. And what this does is it gives us access to something like, let's head to our application. And if we were to simply just anywhere in this file, do console log, it gives us access to the accounts package. So if I type in accounts in all caps here, it's globally going to be available to us, which that can irk some people, right? Because, hey, you know, who wants this globally available thing? You can see accounts exists right here. You can see we get all this great stuff from accounts. So simply by console logging accounts, you can see that this global variable now exists because of this package. If you aren't into that kind of thing and you would like to have explicit imports, we can always import, and then within brackets, we can import accounts from, and then the package is going to be Meteor / and then accounts-base, just like this. And this should work just the exact same as if we were to not have this line at all. So it depends on what you're like. If you don't like having anything sort of magically show up, then you'll want to import it. If you like a little bit of magic here and there, go ahead and just use this global variable. Okay, so we have access to the accounts object, which you may or may not know has access to a whole bunch of cool stuff. But the important stuff for us right now is that we simply want to be able to create a user, which you can see is a method of the accounts package. Or, well, maybe verify an email or log in as a user. So what we want to do here is set up a quick and dirty form to go ahead and log someone in. I'm going to go ahead and create a new component, and we'll just be this, we'll just say register form. Now, keep in mind that I just want to get logged in accounts here. I have a longer term solution for accounts that I'm just going to move into the code base. The purpose of this video isn't necessarily to show Meteor's login system. It's more or less to show how you connect GraphQL. But to connect GraphQL, we first need to actually get some sort of login going. So this register form is going to be very, very rough. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and copy some of these dependencies. I'm going to copy React, and we're going to essentially just create a new component, export default, and then this is going to be a component named, well, we need class here, I'm sorry. This is going to be register form. And again, I'm going to completely rewrite this component or have a new one in here, so don't worry too much about the crappiness of this. So we're going to have an export default class register form extends component. Okay, nothing you haven't seen before. And we're going to have a render function. And inside of this render function is just going to be a form. Let's not worry about the form action and have an on submit here, on submit. And this is going to be equal to this dot register. user. Now again, don't get angry at this code. It's going to just be very, very basic. We're going to have simply just an input, and this is going to be the type of text, and it's going to be, actually I take that back. It's not going to be a type of text. We're going to use type of email because this is going to be the user's email, and we're going to have a ref on this, which is going to be equal to just a arrow function. So input is, the ref is going to be setting the input value to this dot email is going to be equal to input. Okay, if you haven't seen this style of setting refs, this is sort of how they suggest you do it, not using string refs. Basically, we're saying, hey, take the input itself and assign it to this dot email. We'll have access to this dot email up above here. Okay, so cool. We got an input here for email. Let's go ahead and have one for password, which we can actually use type of password, which makes our life a little bit easier. This dot password, okay? And then we're going to have a submit button, which is just going to be a button with a type of submit. And this is just going to be register user. Okay, nice and easy. Easy peasy here. Now, in our app.js, let's go ahead and cut out this import accounts and remove this console log here and move those over to the register form, just so we have access to accounts within our register form. In addition, let's go ahead and import our register form from, and then /register form. We can now just throw this onto our React app just like this and not have to worry about it. Again, you'll eventually want to have a register and a sign up and all that stuff. And like I said, I'm going to drop some code in here so you don't have to write that all from scratch or even write it at all. And next we want to focus on, well, let's save this file first and let's actually make sure this form is appearing on our document. And it looks like I had an issue. I didn't return from my render function. I'm sure if you saw that, you were freaking out, and good eyes on you. I don't know how I could have forgotten that. We need a return in our render function, as with every React component in history. And let's go ahead, and you can see we now have this sort of register user. Okay. It's because I'm on my local host, it's sort of assuming that I have a password in here, which is fine. Okay, so let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to clear this out. I don't want it to use my password at all here. What I want to do here is head up top, and inside of our component here, we're going to go ahead and have a new register user method. So we can say register user is equal to an arrow function. Okay, just like that. And the next thing we want to do is basically run a very, very, very helpful Meteor method, which is simply just accounts.createUser. So accounts.createUser. How nice is that, right? We don't have to, sorry, user's camel case. We don't have to actually do very much here. This is going to take care of everything. And we simply just need to get an email and a password, which we can get from our this.email.value, and we can get our password from this password.value. Okay? So we're grabbing those that are assigned from these inputs here and here. We just need an email and a password, and we're passing it into this very nice accounts.createUser. Now, this accounts.createUser, just like a lot of things, has a callback, so we can have a arrow function here and see if an error is coming into this thing. We could always just do CLG error just for fun here. I'm going to expand upon this area in a minute here, but because we're going to need to do some GraphQL fun stuff. But as you can see here, accounts.createUser, email and password should be all good. And one more thing I want to do, since this is a form submission, I'm going to have an event available in here. We can say e.prevent default, just to prevent the page from auto refreshing when you submit this form. Okay, now what we're going to want to do here is actually give our form a shot, right? And sure enough, obviously you don't want a registration form that exists after the user is already logged in, but we're going to get to that. What I want to do is just simply register a new user and click register user. You should see that it gets us undefined for our error. We can now just simply type in Meteor.user ID into our terminal, hit enter, and see an ID of the user we just created and logged in as. This, in fact, giving us definitive proof here that our registration form did work. Now I'm going to go ahead and double up the registration form here. I'm going to just duplicate this entire file simply by copying the entire thing, creating a new file, login form.js, paste this in here, and we're going to say login form. Again, this code is not dry, so don't worry about that. The version of this thing that I'm be giving you will be much better. And instead of account.createUser, we actually want something called Meteor.Login with password. And this again is going to be a function, but it functions a little bit differently. Instead of passing in an object here, we're going to just pass it in two properties. The first of which is the email, the second of which is the password. And then let's go ahead and get rid of this bracket here. And we're simply going to have a comma where we'll then have the callback. So you can see this form is very similar. It's not going to be register user. This is just going to be login. And we can then reference that on this form as this.login and login user. Okay, so as you can see here, this login form is very, very similar to our register form, just with some words changed. Instead of calling accounts.registerUser, we're using Meteor.Login with password. Instead of passing in an object, we're passing it first a email value and then a password value. Okay, so let's go ahead and see this thing in action by again adding it to our app, and with login form and login form. Now you can make your own login form as fancy as you'd like. I have a pretty fancy one that I will be making available in some context here. So let's go ahead and head back to our app after using our new fancy login form. And even though we're already logged in, we can confirm that by typing meteor.user ID. Okay, you're getting an ID back. Let's go ahead and type meteor.logout. Undefined. Okay, so now if we do again meteor.user ID, we'll get null. Notice how none of this stuff changes. It doesn't care. It doesn't even notice what's going on because we're not telling it to hide or show on anything. But we should now be able to see that you can use your new username and password with the login function and get access to a fully functioning register and login system built in absolutely no time at all using this Meteor awesome logins. So as you can see here, you can run these commands in our command line user.id to see if we are in fact logged in. We can type meteor.logout to log out, and login just worked absolutely perfectly for me. Now, we have this login system and it is completely unaware of GraphQL, and GraphQL is completely unaware of it. So therefore, well, showing and hiding these user registration components might sort of be a pain, right? We want to get our queries and everything to go through GraphQL. So what we're going to be doing in the next video is making Apollo aware of Meteor. We're going to be making it aware of Meteor on the server. So that way we can add a little bit of security here, and we can do things like attaching to-dos to users automatically and maybe pulling in those users to-dos automatically as well. So as always, this is Scott with Level Up Tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.